Was entrepreneurship always the path?
No. I wanted to work, and I wanted to work for Adidas. Like I wanted to be a CMO, as a chartered marketer at Adidas.
Mm-hmm.
I had, I was a big fan of the brand, especially Adidas Originals. A big fan of the brand. I really felt like there's certain things that it could be doing that would be different. I love communications, and I think like some people even ask me, "Oh, how are you getting all these interviews? Whatever, whatever, whatever." I'm like, I don't have a PR team. I don't believe in it because I studied it, I understand it. So I didn't study PR, I studied Stratcom, but I you just need to know how to relay your story, and you always live by the 3 R's: relatability, resonance, um, and relativity. I think those are my 3 R's. Those are the 3 R's I live by because you need to be able to capture someone and be able to walk them through. They have to picture it. I mean, I wrote a research paper back in my final year, just for fun. I didn't have to do it while I was still doing my other stuff. It was about how Jay-Z built his digital brand, how Jay-Z built his brand using digital communication tools and neuroscience as an approach. Something I've never done, was never asked to, but I wrote it, did it. So there's understanding the brain as well in different ways, and just how things like colors, images, smell, just plays a huge role in every single thing that you do. So, yeah, that's why I want to talk about Adidas. I wanted to do stuff. And then there's the big story about the whole Uber and Taxify, now Bolt thing.
Yeah.
Which was also part of the story because I felt I had the scooter idea. I remember it was May 2015. I had the idea for scooter treats, but it was Uber Eats, or I think it was Uber Food at the time. And I wanted to do this thing of like doing food deliveries and doing people moving through different types of vehicles. But I didn't know the what at that time, and I'm doing my final year. And then December 28, 2015, I'm driving around Richards Bay. I'm in Birdswood, and I'm like, I'm bored. I left home on the 20th. I flew out of Joburg to Richards Bay I think it was on Christmas, or it was on the 26th. I think I flew out on Christmas. I was like, nah, I'm not spending time with you guys. Deuces, I'm gonna go to the house that side. Went there and was driving around, and on the 28th of December, I saw a lady, something you see every day. Bunu mama getting out of a taxi, petty checkers yake, ShopRite plastic bags, those bright yellow ones, and she was gonna walk to Imakaya because Imakaya in the suburb is not really much of a great distance in Richards Bay. Everything is like just weird. Spatial planning is just weird there. But she had to walk, and I knew that there's a solution, there's a problem there. And that's how it started.
Yeah. What year was this?
2015.
Sure. It's crazy to think that you looked at that at the time and said, whereas now that's just like, oh yeah, checkers CC, but like bikes everywhere, and Zuzi, and now Pick and Pay.
ASAP.
Yes, ASAP.
Yeah.
When you saw that, what was your first reaction? Like, how do you recognize a problem and start going, okay, what happens now?
Recognizing a problem. I think for me, it's how I experience it. I think I'm blessed to have lived both worlds, like ukuhlala elokishini nokuhlala emasababsini. Like whenever I'd used to introduce myself, I'd say, "Yeah, I'm Fezile Dhlamini, born and bred in Soweto, exported to the burbs, and matured in various parts of the country."
I like that.
It sounds like a perfect beer ad, right? So, I mean, being able to go home in Soweto while I was growing up, moving to the burbs very early in the early 90s, staying at Dube, going to Greyston Prep in '97. Those types of things literally gives you a best of both worlds upbringing, because when you're here, it's English. When you're here, it's Zulu, it's Sotho, or le lizwe lesikhulumayo khona lapho. That's what I did. That's what helped me with identifying problems, because I'm able to relate to people. Literally, you can put me anywhere. Like, at some point in my life, I got expelled from school. I was in Greyston Prep. No, not Greyston. I was in Grantley in Richards Bay. And I got expelled in August, my birthday month. I always hated my birthday month. Got expelled there. And so I didn't go to school for a month. And then...
Why'd you get expelled?
Misidentification.
Okay.
When I'm in a white school that's on a farm, very private, and there's like a handful of blacks. So whatever this guy did was me. They say now it's me who did it. And yeah, you can't fight that system. You have to accept it.
Yeah.
I remember my mother said to me, and also sitting on this table, and I now have the opportunity to cross-examine. I'm in grade 10. Cross-examining the people who are blaming me for this thing. I cross-examined, this girl cried. And it's just me and my mother, and they have lawyers sitting with them there. So it's just me and my mother. And I remember we'd talk in English, then when I talk with my mother, it was Zulu. Because you need to protect whatever it is we're discussing. And the chair said to us that, I find it so amazing that you're able to articulate yourself so eloquently in split languages at any given moment. And people don't know that things like that play a huge role in how you see the world and how you engage with it. And fortunate is that right now, kids of today, they all just speak English. They can't express themselves in no other language but English. But it's hopefully someday parents will fix it, society will fix it. And my mother even said at that time, and she told me many years later, again, admitting that I was actually very impressed with how you handled that thing, because it exposed them. And when it exposed them, they were like, "Now we have to get rid of this guy." they got rid of him. So yeah, I mean, seeing problems, just going back to the original question, is how I see problems is through experience, is knowing how to relate with the next person, be it a high net worth individual or somebody that is sleeping on the side of the road, being able to understand. But I think it's just maybe also how my brain is just wired. I've always been like an outcast-ish, where you're like a black sheep-ish, repeat in the family where no one really understands why does this guy do certain things that he does, or even in school always getting into trouble. You get to realize that, so abantu abakanje, they all like this and all somehow follow a certain path to success or not success. So yeah, I think like I said, imagine you're 90. When did the first place? I got my first PlayStation, the big one. I think it was in 97 or something like that. I had a Sega. I had a computer in 98, 96. So
I always think like small details like that about someone's life, where you're introduced to technology at a very young age.
Yes,
it contributes to so much about what happens with you in the future. Do you remember the first thing that you tried to build using technology?
I was not even using technology. The first thing I ever tried to build, actually that we built, was in 1999 or 2000. I was staying in North World in Randburg. Myself and my white friends that because wherever I stayed, also in the suburbs, I was also always the only black person in that area. So I grew up around a lot of white people. But it never like changed how I would engage with the world or engage with the people of where I come from, which becomes a very important piece of this story of mine. imvelaphi or heritage.
Mm.
We built a go-kart.
Oh wow.
Someone's uncle managed to weld it for us. It was made out of steel bars. The steel, it's got a particular name. Like I said, the words I don't know, but I know how to, whether it's drawing it or explain it. It was steel bars that were literally put together. Flat steel bars were all welded, and it would use ropes. So we first started with a trolley that we stole. From we stole this trolley from Northgate Shopping Center and Pick and Pay used to have that old logo of theirs. We stole that trolley, and we drove it literally all the way back home. Then we broke the top half off, so we used the bottom piece. Took ropes again, tied them onto the bottom, and would use that to turn. And then I think we at some point we added a crate. So we took a crate. It is a Black Label crate. I don't know where we stole that. We stole that from somewhere. Put it on there. I think it was bolted on. And that was the first thing that we did. And then the second one was then the go-kart, where now you could sit two people at a time and just pull and just direct. There's a lot of pushing, so I think that's where my calves came from, because I had to like do a lot of pushing and do a lot of pushing and walking up the hill. And then the third piece of the puzzle was grade 6. I was in Rosebank Primary, and there was a science project that we had, and I told my friends it was Mankani and Godfrey, or it was Mankani, Godfrey, and Given. Yeah, I think it was either of those guys. And then I was like, guys, we're gonna build a go-kart. And then how are we gonna build it? We don't have materials. I was like, don't worry. I literally in class, I drew that whole thing, and then I said, this is how we're gonna do it. So at the time, we had just built our home here in Ethel, and I was like, there's materials there. Because I'm a cabinet and all this. The only things we didn't have were the wheels. So we'd have to buy the wheels, certain types of wheels, so you can attach them to the side of the vehicle. But everything, 80% of the materials, I had them at home. Actually, told them at home, I was like, I've got a science project. We need to build this thing tomorrow. We knew all along when it was due. But I was like, we need to build it tomorrow at school. That was like the last project for us to pass and what. And then my grandfather, who played a huge role in my life as well, he loaded into the car, took those materials. I remember there's Uncle Eric, that was my friend's guardian, and he had a carpentry business. Took all the materials, went and cut it exactly as I wanted it. I wonder where he is, but imagine I'm just drawing stuff. I don't even know why we're doing this, or why I think this, and then we built. That's what we built. I mean, over the years, I've done multiple businesses. I never thought I'd ever get into business, because I've always felt like now after is that business is a calling. It's something you don't just do it because you feel like it. Like somehow you're ordained by the commercial gods.
The commercial gods.
and they say this is what you have to do.
Yeah. But I mean, you've built so many cars already now. Like you're talking about the first version, which is like the trolley. And then it's this go-kart for the science project. When do you eventually start thinking about, okay, how do I actually build this as a, It
was by chance. It was not. It was by chance. I mean, 2015, final year at varsity. I already have a business, which is already doing something at the time. What
was this?
It was social engineering, but I used different types of technology, putting them together, and finding stuff, finding information, being able to move. Social engineering. Just know that, like, if I wanted to find you, I could find you.
Okay.
I didn't study this. I just knew how to do it. I think even during that time, 2014, 15, actually, if you go through the Green Scooter RSA account, and type in Toogle, maybe search in there. That was what I was doing with the account, where people would be too lazy to go on Google to look for something. So Twitter was the community to find information. So what did I do? I would literally spend all my time in class. I just had to listen. I just had to have white noise. I was never that person who'd always focus in class or whatever, because I'd get bored and like think about something, and then, or maybe focus on the theory, or Hobbes and all those guys in politics or philosophy. I'd take those things and then I'd get obsessed about it. I'd take something and get obsessed about it. That's how I am. So I was just doing Toogle the whole time in class. People would want to look, how do I register? I think one of them, it was probably K53. It had something to do with a driver's license or whatever. And you could find this information on Google, but people were too lazy and did not know how to use Google. Google has a skill set of its own. If you want to hide a dead body, you put it on the second page of Google.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. But at this juncture, I was like, no, man, let me just give people information because they wanted it. So I was doing that. I'll just search the keywords. So I'm searching Toogle, and I'm searching Toogle with a hashtag. And that's what I was doing at the time. So that's another thing I built at that time. Back when I was in varsity as well at Rhodes, I found myself I think the year before, I loved designing. So I started using Coral Draw in 2007. I was just designing T-shirts, logos. I remember my dad owned a Premier Piatti at the time. So I remember with him as well. It was like a side gig for him because he was a doctor. So it was just a side gig of his, and I wanted to host events at the time. At the thing, I was like, yeah, I've designed a poster. Let's do this. Let's do that. So that's also something I tried to create at the time. So that's when I got introduced to design itself. I introduced myself. There was no YouTube actually there was YouTube, but I wouldn't say that we were thoroughly exposed to it as a learning tool. So a lot of the things in terms of how to use Coral Draw or Adobe Photoshop was like self-taught. You had to like meet up with a lot of people. Other stuff I've done. I remember grade 10. So when I got expelled, so then my mother's like, I need to put you in a school. And then she put me, I had to go Emakaya. So we stay in Mirensia, which is a nice suburb there in Richards Bay. And I had to then go to school, Mzingas. The school was called Mkaideni Technical High School. Now imagine you go from private school, like 20 people in a class, and now we're like 40, 50 in a class. Those people you're in a class with, they come from a different type of demographic. You were in a nice, poshy, certain type of uniform even, So I went to school there. First day, I had to take a bus. My mother's like, look, you did shit. So now you need to go and, you need to lay low, but just go and finish. And actually appreciate that now. Because, again, I can say, right? You go to school, it's those long drop toilets. Hey, that place was something else. But it wasn't.
It's a completely different world.
It is, because the thing is, you're getting on a bus that's going the opposite direction, right? And now when you get off that bus, everyone's looking at you like, umlungu funala. Literally, they called me umlungu because I was very, very light. And I would say that's also like, it's a bit of a blessing in life. It's a weird thing. Maybe another conversation that we can branch out to and just swing back in. But I enjoyed myself there. I made friends, and even at the time, because I've had a computer for so long, what was I doing? I was also just making music for fun. But I was making beats. I love music. I love drums. I love percussions and all those things. So I found myself also hanging out with different guys. So those are the things that I was like Adobe Audition. I don't know if it still exists.
It does.
So Adobe Audition, I knew how to use it from 2000, in grade 10. In terms of just putting things together. I remember DJ PH and Abu Kent would do like those 5FM 5-minute mixing thing. So we also I was teaching myself how to put those things together when I used to have my SoundCloud account. Then Rhodes first year, thought I'd be a lawyer. No. I was hosting events. I was a radio DJ and a radio producer at RMR Radio. No, yeah, it was RMR Radio. And I was DJing. So I've been DJing obviously since before that. That was still me. I mean, I was a homebody. Like I was never a person who'd go out in the streets and, I mean, whenever it happened, it happened. And, you know, going to Black Orchard, Catwalk back in the day type of thing, with a 16 bars, going to Wema Pen with a 16 bars type of thing. I've lived a very, very interesting life.
How important has the diversity of experiences that you've had growing up to contributing to the type of entrepreneur that you are?
It's very important because you need to understand how society works. You need to understand how society works and people's backgrounds in general. But it becomes tough. You reach a certain plateau where just things become tough, where you'd get frustrated with the system because you've got these oorklaps on and you think all your life everything is a meritocracy because that's what we're led to believe. And you realize that no, it isn't. It's not about what you know. It's how they know you. You know, we can all pull out a phone and show a very important number, but how they know you is very important because it also determines the success or failure of what it is that you want in a certain thing that you're doing. But understanding culture is very, very important. And I think it's something that people take for granted. Then again, it depends how you look at it. Are you trying to create something of meaning, or do you just want to please the commercial gods? You know, it's like just transactional and out, you know. But building things that are sustainable, being relatable is like a key tenet. That's why I said like the 3 R's: resonance, relatability. You can't build, like, it's like this one saying, strategy is built in the boardroom, die in the streets. You really have to understand where people come from. One time, 2022, I was just traveling. I was traveling a lot. Yeah, I think it's 2020. Yeah, 2021, 2022. I was doing Mozambique. No, 2022. Yeah, I was going to Mozambique. I was going to KZN a lot, and you know, just trying to immerse myself in different cultures. And I realized, so in Mozambique, for example, they speak Portuguese or they speak Shangan. Ne? And angisazi mina Shangan, ngumZulu. Ngiyazi phela amaZulu sinjani. I hope you guys will add subtitles. But
Tsonga
in Mozambique. And the dialect is not that off. The phonetics allow you to understand where the person's going with what they're saying. Because when we converse, and especially when you speak, it's Tsonga, ngale, I would always I'd look at their lips when they're talking, because then I can understand them better. Otherwise, if I'm looking there, I don't understand jack shit this person's saying. So it's things like that, and understanding troubles people face. You just always have to throw yourself in that deep end.
You know, there's so many different, like with all the things that you're talking about that you've built, right?
Yeah.
There's also a process of learning. And you clearly have like a curiosity for the world where it's like, I really don't care what it might take to do this. I'm willing to learn it. Where does that come from? But also, like, how have you used it to build your business?
I don't know where it comes from.
You're just like hungry for the knowledge and being able to do things?
I remember one hiding I got from my mother. I used to have a Superman suit.
Okay.
I used to have a Superman suit. I would climb on top of the house. So climb on top of the house, there's grass over there. And I would jump. I was 7 years old, 8 years old. 8, 9, yeah, 8, 9. My mother then caught me climbing on top of the house. Then she asked me, and she came back from work. Yeah, she's panicking. So it's like, okay, I'll come down. So I didn't come back down the safe way. I went and I jumped off. The reason I'm sharing this bit of information is that it's like I've just always had that dog. You know, you always have that dog in you. It's folk. You know, and it changes over time. You mature, and then with loss, it teaches you something else, and you tap into another version of it. But I'm just a person where when I say I'm going to do this, I do it and I stick to it. If it's a if it's a form of Asperger's syndrome or autism, whatever they call it, then you know that's the obsession type that I have. Like I said, I never thought I'd ever be an entrepreneur. I never really had the desire.
Yeah, but the commercial gods, they want what they want.
They want what they want, and you know, I won't lie to you, man. I mean, you find yourself in this abyss at times, and this abyss is that you're not going anywhere. Like you can have the most amazing CV, but you're not going anywhere, buddy. Like you have to finish this thing. Like there's a job you have to do, and it's like, you know, with some people where they'll suffer all their lives, like The Pursuit of Happiness, the movie, and then at that age, and everything changes, and then he cries, you know, walking down the sidewalk covered in paint and that jacket he was wearing, or suffer all your life, and then you die. Well, the reason I'm saying this is that I remember talking to somebody, and somewhat it's another dangerous territory that I play in. Another dangerous territory. But it's dangerous, but it's 100% legal. 100% legal. Nothing sounds right actually right now. But it's a yeah. I actually I'm gonna dabble into it. But what I'm trying to say there is that I told these people, and I've said this many years to people. And I think that's one thing. That's what makes you do what you want to do. The only thing I'm afraid of, like I'm not afraid of someone that's alive. If you're living, I'm not afraid of you. I'm afraid of someone that's dead, because I'm a very spiritual person. I talk to God every day and my ancestors as well. But I'm also afraid of getting hurt, in the sense that, like, falling down some stairs and breaking an arm. I'm afraid of that type of stuff. You know, ugly mala, getting hurt is something that is something that I'm afraid of. But doing what I say I'm gonna do, you know, it helps. When you grew up in the suburbs in the 90s, early 2000s, there were barely people around me that were like me. A lot of times I'd stay at home. It's just me and my PlayStation, or me and the cartoons I'm watching. And knowing that, and I was the only child for a very long time, knowing that I'm alone is knowing that I have to do it myself anyway. So knowing that I don't have that, if there's none that you're going to depend on, that's what just keeps me going.
Yeah.
It's sad, but the lone wolf analogy also works in its own way of keeping you alive. And plus, I think one more thing, pride. If you've grown up in the hood, even been exposed to the rural areas, even the suburbs, and you've seen drunkards, you've seen people that are drug addicts. When you know that you don't want that, you know where to always put yourself. Like, we should be thankful, our generation, that we were exposed to Soul City, Soul Buddies, Yizo, Gazlam. Those types of shows, they also molded us, whether it's a sink or swim, the abyss again. But then comes loss. And it plays a huge role in entrepreneurship. Where, like I said to you, I think we were off air. I said after the first one, you get used to it. Where when my dad passed, I just lost my balance a bit. When my mother passed, the ground was gone altogether. But it was one of two things. Either A, I get sucked into this abyss and it's an endless labyrinth that I will eventually, let's say, go insane or whatever in. Or number two, I just float. And I always choose floating. At the end of the day, my parents were going to die. You know, you realize things like that are going to happen. You must accept them very early. Even death for yourself, accept it very early. No one's invincible. Just do what you're here to do in this world, and hopefully it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But play your part somehow.
How do you navigate entrepreneurship and being a founder when you're experiencing that level of loss, but also having to navigate life through that as well?
Just fine. You literally have to just get up and keep it going. Nobody cares. Like you can tweet and say, "Oh, my dad or my mom," blah, 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 but nobody cares. Like I remember this one tweet. Somebody was tweeting about how I think their loved one had passed away or something, and they said, "Hey, guni ni city sur."
Sure. I'm sure this was X. This is not Twitter. This is X. I think of them as such different. No. There's Twitter. No. There's Twitter. And Twitter has always existed. It's like there's a core value system. X is the unhinged part of like human behavior where it's like, whoa.
Yeah, I laughed. That day I laughed and I realized, and it made me really realize that there's no point in now coming back and just telling people that, oh, I lost my mom or I lost my dad. Like, nobody cares, dog. Literally, everybody moves on. Like, everybody moves on. And if you want to get stuck in this abyss of shame, do it on your own. But it's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember chatting to somebody and she said to me that, she said, no, you've got trauma. I said, no, I don't. So, no, you have trauma. You can't say you've lost both parents in 3 years and then you don't have trauma. I said, I don't. Because my advantage, like I told you what my friend said, is that when something happens, yes, you deal with it there, then you take it, throw it away. Life doesn't have time for you to be crying or wallowing. If you know that saying.
I do.
But you just need to be very self-aware. And I think I've been self-aware from a very young age. And just knowing that how you handle things, how you move forward. Yes, sometimes you'll fall off, you'll slip Nyana off the bandwagon, but then you'll quickly, hop back on and just stay on that path. Like cry when you're dead, maybe. Maybe cry when you're done with everything. But literally, I mean, I think I remember when my dad passed. When they called me in the morning, I said, "Hey, we need you to come to the hospital." I said, "Sharp." I already knew he was gone. I just got in my car and I drove. Got to the hospital. And then I cried there. And stopped. Then I had to make sure I handled all the funeral proceedings. I had to pick both my parents. I had to pick the boxes. I had to arrange with what do they call it? The mortuary. So now, as a business person, you're still applying business processes in something like this, because you also have to negotiate. I'm not going to pay this much. You're my friend. Give me a better price, type of thing. I had to do all of those things with a straight face on. No time to cry. And then I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, maybe it was a month or two later, my friends called me out and we're like, we're having drinks, and I'm just sitting there on this long table. Hey, there's many long tables in my stories.
Long tables means people.
Yeah,
people's good,
and that's how you build businesses. And then I just broke down and I cried in that moment. I didn't know why, because I'm not a person who cries. Because it's like the last time I cried like this was when my grandfather passed away in 2006. I'm not a crier, because crying doesn't help. And that's the thing about business, that at some point you're gonna have to become a shark. Like being a shark, I'm not gonna lie, it works because it keeps you alive.
Mm.
And then even when I lost my mother, it was literally I had to handle the funeral proceedings from beginning to the end. After that, it was back to regular programming.
Mm.
I mean, I think there's part of my story I've never shared, but I remember going to a friend of mine, Dr. Ladu, and I went to his office and I said, Ladu, hey, this has recently happened. So I was telling him my mother passed away because he also saw it on social. And then he said, I said to him, I was like, actually, I think I'm gonna quit. I was like, I'm gonna quit. I said, hey, what do you mean you're gonna quit now? It's like, look, man, my mother, I feel like she was now the person I was doing the stuff for.
Mm.
Because you're sharing your journey, you're sharing your story, you're sharing everything, and you just want it to work and have it at least have one parent that you can celebrate it with. And I felt like I don't have anyone to celebrate it with anymore because everyone's gone. And then I was like, I wanted to quit, and then he said to me, no, you can't. Yeah, you can't. Let's figure it out. Let me bring you in. Let's do something. Da 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 da. And if I never did that activation at the Tshwane Energy thing last year, June, I would. Green Scooter was done. I felt like I just didn't want to do anything anymore. It was done. But doing that just reminded me why I started it. Sometimes you just need that kickstart. Just to bring you back to your senses, and then yeah.
What was the reason why you wanted to start Green Scooter?
I was just trying to solve a problem. It was transportation.
Mm.
It was literally, mama getting off a taxi and being like, we already have Uber in Joburg and it's ridiculously expensive. Well, somewhat, but there were a lot of promo codes, so there was a very loss making for them in the early stages.
Mm.
Then you had the meter taxis. So in Richards Bay, a meter taxi for such a short distance will cost you a lot of money. And I felt it was ridiculous. So I felt that it can be resolved with a micromobility solution. Yes, the year before that, well, not the year before that, the same year in 2015, I was thinking about food delivery and how it should be and can be done.
Mm.
I think I remember even that December when I was still in Joburg, I used Zulzi once. And the person who delivered was actually Donald. He doesn't remember. I'm very good at remembering things, so it was him. But my chicken wings, they came here from here, here in Roseback, and they took 2 hours. I gave him shit, but it was like, yeah, but you say daddy, don't have to do this thing again. But they were also still finding themselves, right? And when I was just back to the whole people thing, it was purely for that. And I just said, I'll do it some way, somehow. It's evolved. Like if people were to look at the business plan that I was done. So I started with the business plan on the 28th of December, 2015. I was done with it on the 3rd of January, 2016. So throughout, I was busy typing, I was doing research, searching, putting how this thing can work and how can, trying to piece it together. It's always been this. What you see in the world today is literally what I had predicted. There's still more that will come. But I guess, again, it was that's for that reason. I just have this innate ability to wake up and just do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not want to quit. Well, I did want to quit.
I mean,
but that wasn't within reason.
Yeah, it was.
Because it's a mother is everything. So once you lose a mother, it's easy to lose a father. Fathers they don't really play much of a emotive role as opposed to mothers. So I just felt I'm done. But now I was like, nah, I can do it.
Yeah. What was you're talking about this business plan that you had, right?
Yeah.
Like how you thought food delivery would sort of
transcend,
evolve, and how the industry would come about. Why build the vehicles rather than just import them? I think like you've had this question asked so many times, and there's a reason you had.
So this is where the story started. I needed a product. And South Africa, unfortunately, even at that time, had nobody I can turn to say, yo, can you help me do this? I have no experience in this. So reached out, spent a lot of time on YouTube that December, and reached out to a company in Sweden. And that's where the partnership started. They already had the proprietary technology, and they already had the niche market of what they were trying to do. And I was like, this is exactly what I'm trying to do. And here's how everything else looks for me. These are some of my sketches. This is some of my planning. This is what I wanted to evolve to over the next 5 years or 10 years. But I always have a 20-year outlook with everything. So it started with that, product importing. Now, because I'm doing this alone and I'm self-funding it. So I remember I worked corporate, only 3 companies, and I was like, screw it. And even at that time, while I was working at these companies, Green Scooter was also functioning as another company. So that was my cash cow. And that cash cow allowed me to have enough money to travel, enough money to procure things. So I did all of that. And the end goal was that everything cradle to grave can be made here. It is some part of it being made here. So body production, we're doing it here in Germiston. And even getting to that point, spent a lot of money. Get into a lot of debt. This is the part that people don't talk about when it comes to business. Starting a business is synonymous with debt. You flirt with it. That becomes your lady of the night. when you're trying to solve a quick problem, because that's what a lady of the night is. If you understand the analogy, if you understand the analogy.
Yeah.
But, not to upset anyone. I hope it doesn't make me sound sexist or anything. So, but we had to start somewhere, and I'm a person that has a pay attention to detail, and I love quality. And who's better to give you quality but the Swedes? The Italians can give you quality as well, but the Swedes and the Germans, they serve different functions. So that's where it started, and now we're at a point. We're now redoing 2 molds, and these molds, each one will give us a production output of 500, so 1,000. So hoping to push 1,000 units once we're done with these molds. And we've done the rigorous testing, stress testing, crash testing as well. And we reached the Euro standards that we for specification purposes. Yeah, but the reason with bringing it here is that people understand value chain engineering. Such a critical part of a product business. Value chain engineering, once you control your verticals and your horizontals, you can survive. Like we survived COVID. How many companies have you heard over the past 3-4 years that came in with trying to solve e-hailing? Because that's what we were also initially introducing. We built it, Scooter, which was the e-hailing app. Then other people came in. They said, "Yeah, we're also doing e-hailing." Where are they today? Because it's not understanding processes. It's not understanding the technology itself. Not being technical as well. Was the cause of their demise. And then Scooter Treats as well. We came with it. We're doing food deliveries during COVID. I was like, I'm not going to sit down and do nothing. Took the scooters, Tatamajita, Ngatibafitu. Someone here in Rosebank once, Mogodu Monday from Moja, in Diepkloof, London East. We're doing those deliveries. Somebody in Branston once, Ikwata from Tuslai, which is in Protea. I mean, we catapulted a lot of businesses as well because of understanding the needs of people. Again, people come and play a role in this entire thing that we're doing. I feel like I've digressed. Have I digressed?
No, you're still good. We're on the path right now.
Yeah, but in terms of the value chain engineering side, a lot of people don't get it. It plays a huge role. I mean, look, with the debt that we've managed to get to help us also move, plus the money that I had to take out of my own pocket, hey, I've spent.
Yeah, like, and maybe speak to that, right? Trying to compete on
and not get
on
funding,
this specific space, right?
And not
like
getting funding from government and
e-hailing and food delivery is very much like a burning money exercise for a lot of these companies, right? And Uber's got infinite money and all these other guys, and you do mention some guys that fell away. How frustrating has that like funding landscape been to navigate? But also, like, how have you then sort of found ways to still keep this going?
Well, I think my girlfriends that I've had over the years would have a lot to say because they had to they got front row seats to the frustration. My mother as well. I think she was hurting a lot. Even my father as well. I think he somewhat hurt a lot.
Sure.
Was never good with his emotions as a doctor. Those people are just. But it's frustrating. Over 400, 450 rejections and counting. You just have to be like, okay, keep going. But having to use my own money most of the time, it's like religion. It's like what Karl Marx would say. It's the opium of the people, right? So you have this faith and hope that something's going to come together. So that's the same thing, I guess, with what I'm doing. Is that I will just keep on plowing. I'll keep plowing until the rains come and cover the soil. It's not nice, but at some point you just have to develop thick skin. You'll piss off a lot of people. A lot of people, when they listen to you, would think that you're frustrated. And I found myself in many sit downs where it's a fuck situation. I had to be like, I'd explain something and I'd tell it like it is, and people will receive it and will say, yeah, we understand you're frustrated. I'm like, no, I'm not frustrated. I'm telling you the truth because this is how things are and this is what we need to do. And so you have this thing also when you're dealing with people. I've had a lot of, I don't even know how people receive this information. I've had more favor from white people than black people. It's funny. Not really. But it's my reality. Where white people understand the job to be done. But the black people I've engaged, they don't understand the job to be done and they want to make it difficult for you. There's a lot of projecting that takes place. Because how is it possible that I remember when I was 26 years old or 27, I did my first application with a certain DFI asking for 5 million, a mere 5 million, 5 million. And I remember being told, you need to build and sell 5,000 vehicles first before we can consider to giving you funding. This is government money, not your money. Our parents have been paying taxes from the previous regime until the current. But anyway, I don't have that type of political conversation.
Of course.
It's uncomfortable for people.
It's a difficult one.
It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And, yep.
Did you feel like people just fundamentally misunderstood what the business was or didn't understand the model?
No.
Or was it like...
projection. People need to understand. Companies like Yisco or the IDC or Fosco, the industrialization of this country wouldn't have not happened if it wasn't for Dr. Hendrik van der Bijl, a Swedish guy. He industrialized the country. And companies like Simba Chips and Omar Rusks would have never survived their trough of sorrow if it wasn't for an IDC that said, hey, here's money. At that time. Now, obviously, if we look at it with a proper lens, it will show, yes, there was a certain favor for certain people in society over the others. but there's a certain methodology, which is to build something from scratch. It will take a lot of risk, and we've become very, very risk averse, which is why, I mean, you look at, let me just throw this in there, like what's happening in the US, the tariffs. I think it's perfect. I think what's happening there is what is needed for the US to reinvigorate itself. That's a proper transfer of wealth, the proper transfer of industry. Because you increase tariffs, what does it mean? It means you now have to develop your local economy. It means you need to industrialize. You need to educate. So things like that, for me, I like to hear them. I like to see them, because it means you're developing your own people. That's what China did. People first. I mean, they're 50 years ahead of everyone else, you know. But again, I hope I have not digressed from from the question, from the original question.
No, not too much, I think.
But yeah, I think you're asking me about business. What did you ask me again? Just repeat that question.
Trust me, this is not a business conversation anymore. But there are some business questions I still want to ask you.
Yeah.
Was there moments, an early moment that you remember that made you feel like this was going to work?
Yeah. That's the point. That's the whole thing about entrepreneurship. It's that you know it's gonna work. It just sucks when you see other people making it work and they don't have half the knowledge that you have. But again, it's not about what you know; it's how they know you. Exposure is very important in business. But also, I've always said when I've engaged people is that I'm grateful that I never got that 5 million from the first DFI I went to. And I take a certain extract from a particular book by Anton Rupert. That extract was Providence, where he says, I've often wow, I always write it. I've often thanked God, or no, I've often thanked Providence because I've often thanked Providence for not getting the things that I wanted when I wanted them. And when they came, then I was more prepared for it. So in this light, for myself as a business owner, for my business, is that what I know today, and if I'd gotten what I'd wanted back then, I would have failed. I'm glad I never got it. I'm glad I had to go and start another business at the same time, make money, and then get that money, pump it in here. Because I respect money, and the value of a rand goes a very long way for me, and Providence. I've often thanked, I've just been grateful that, what, it sucks, but as push.
Yeah. What is the hardest decision that you've had to make in building Green Scooter? And what have you learned about yourself from it?
Hardest decision I've ever made in building Green Scooter. Hiring. And because I've never been, hiring. That plays a huge role. Cheap is expensive. Hire slow, fire fast. Just because you have a certain relationship here doesn't mean you must hire it. Get the professional, where there's nothing that binds you except for the transaction that you're here to do a job and you go home. Not here to be friends. Yeah, there's a relationship that we build, but sizelang ispan. Second part, sometimes talking too much and expressing my views. But that's when your freedom's taken away from you. You realize that society in the world is built around certain types of systems. There's a reason why things are the way they are. The world, the country is by design. And if you're going to talk too much, uzafaka indlala. We all have opinions. Opinions are like assholes.
Man, you've come up with so many analogies.
So yeah, it was like eventually realizing that it's in tool. Let me just focus on what I'm trying to do at this point. Also, most importantly, with entrepreneurship and the lessons I've come was your ego is not worth it. Your ego will leave you starving. So I don't want to be remembered as the guy that started. I don't want it to be Grand Scooter by Fezile Dhlamini. I don't care about that. I really don't. Like you stop caring about. Like we've got a lot of celebrity entrepreneurs, celebrity businessmen. I don't care about things like that. I just care about getting something done and building something meaningful that people will love. How they love it, it's up to them.
You're talking about like, celebrity entrepreneurship where maybe sometimes what someone's business looks like on the surface is very different from what's really happening. How do you guys measure success? Or how do you measure success?
I feel like I haven't had it yet. Or maybe, I don't know, man. I remember when I got my first Nyana investment that came in. No, the second one, yeah. From Mitch Aeons. And I said, I was happy, that okay, no, got an investor now, we're gonna start moving. But I think after maybe like 10 minutes after all of that, it was gone. Because you feel like I need to do more. And I don't know how to celebrate. So I don't know how to measure success but being able to get something over the line is very important. And that's what I try to do. Because the thing is with entrepreneurship, your probabilities of failure are higher than your probabilities of success. So you're always failing forward. But also I just feel that you don't need to have certain type of noise. How this whole analogy as well of new money, old money, certain crass things people do and whatnot. It's just certain things, attention that you don't need. Like I don't know if you watch the series Shogun.
Unfortunately, not yet.
You should watch it. Trust me, it's beautiful. The tapestry of communicating the Japanese culture.
Oh wow.
It's just beautiful, and watch it with subtitles. Don't do this whole English thing.
Oh no, I hate that. Yeah.
So one thing I learned that managed to now, and I remember there's a friend of mine. He started Vula.ai or Vula.vc. Yeah, that's So his other name is Debo.
Okay.
He's a Muslim guy with a black name.
Okay.
So, and then he told me, he's like, hey man, did you watch Shogun? I was like, no. And then the reason I'm saying this now, I know I speak in parables at times, but that's hopefully you piece it in, is that there's a thing about having a public life, a private life, and a secret life. And I didn't so I said this to him. I remember when we were talking last year in Cape Town. It was in March in Cape Town. I was doing an exhibition with African Bank and whatnot. And then I told him, it's like, did you watch Shogun? I was like, no, it's because that's what they say. And then after I watched it, then I understood. But also it's something that I wish people also got to understand, is that you need to have a public life, have a private life, and a secret life. It really helps you with so many things. We've seen many entrepreneurs of a certain kind getting exposed and things just falling apart through social because of now izinto zabo sezingaphandle. We need to know less about one another. There's this other joke where there's certain things that the apartheid police would never even get out of me. You know, you need to be like that. So, you know, things like that, they help you avoid a lot of nonsense. And yeah, I hope I've answered you there.
Listen, we've digressed in
We have,
very
yeah.
interesting directions. Talking about being focused, I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs have this battle between having a great vision and still matching that vision with the execution to do it right. And I think like you need to be focused in order to keep matching those two things over different phases of your business, right? So how you're focused on your vision when things are going extremely well is different maybe when things are quite difficult. How do you manage that relationship between vision and execution through those different phases of building Green Scooter?
I don't know. I don't I don't know. I think I'll take it back to when I was young. Sisahlala eLokishini. Myself and my cousins, who are twins, we would be left with the house. And I think this is something that a lot of black people would resonate with, is that our parents would work in the suburbs or they'd work in the north and then come back home late. So there was a lot of self-reliance and self-determination and independence that you needed to pick up very early. That's where the cultural essence plays a huge role. And that's where focus comes in. Because a lot of people lose themselves, be it in business or just generally. And being disciplined back then, I mean, this free stoop. You know what free stoop was? You know, either your stoop at home was either red or black.
Yeah, those only
that. You know, this free stoop, sisebancane. We would do the garden. We would wash cars. We would be given that responsibility from a very young age. You as a other person, you think, why are they making me do this? You guys have money, just take it to the car wash type of thing. But no, those things built discipline. You know, they made you to understand why you're here. No matter how small the task is, that discipline creates that focus. I remember when we moved here, when we moved to Santon, a very big yard. And one thing I just started doing was just doing the garden. I was 11, 12. I'd mow that entire jarit, bro. And that was just me knowing every weekend, this is what I'm doing. Because I've got nothing else to do. But the focus and the discipline are very, very important. I know other people, when they talk about focus and discipline, they talk about religion. Yes, I grew up in a Catholic family that never did any of these black traditional customs or traditions or customs. But I remember at a certain point in my life, I was even a person, I wouldn't go to church. I believed in science in a way, where what you put in is what you get out. And then only realizing later, and through entrepreneurship, hey, it will teach you how to pray. Hey, entrepreneurship will teach you how to pray. And I always say to people that if you still pray in English, your problems are not serious. If you pray in English, your problems are still here. Pray in your mother tongue, then you know shit's going down. So the focus, I don't even know where I got it, but I just had it. And like I said, whenever you look at, hey, that guy is like this, I don't want to be like that. Fear of failure, fear of turning out as a drug addict, fear of being something that people will look at and say, yeah, sakchela. Play the role.
Someone who's up.
Oh,
You know that one?
oh.
I didn't even finish the
Oh,
phrase.
Chief, telling a Zulu man here, Asimbonyo Phelela.
Asimon.
And that's another thing, that you could say, like a lot of people who look like you and me, why they don't go and do these things, why they don't go into business, because bayasaba ukuthi abantu bazothini. And that thing will get you anywhere. Like, I remember one time, because with my other business, I had to go to a meeting to go and present. I had to join this meeting with these government officials for this thing, and so we needed them to unlock a certain amount so that we can carry on with certain things. And I had to wear, because now it's going under this guy's company. I'm a software for him. I had to wear the company golf shirt with government department and what. And now the t-shirt I was wearing my nice Lacoste t-shirt. I had my nice chinos and my loafer. So I looked certain way, and I thought, then he gave me the golf shirt. I didn't question it, because money doesn't have time for your ego as well. Of how you look, how you feel, it's got nothing to do with that. So I took that, and I just wore the golf shirt, and I even wore the golf shirt up until I got home. So that focus, it's a broad term that you need to be able to apply it in ways that work for you.
Yeah,
and just put that ego aside, because no one's going to remember your ego.
Yeah. What does the future of building Green Scooter look like?
There's things that we're busy with now. Been a long journey, meeting a lot of people, pissing off people, not pissing off people. It's a journey of business. Owing people, not owing people. But things are going to change. And things are changing. Things are improving. It's more than just electric three-wheelers, a tuk-tuk that went to private school. It's an entire future that people don't even realize is unlocking in front of them. I'm building tech. There's batteries involved in that research proposal paper of mine. I think last year I even wrote 2 papers and I just published them. Introducing new leadership. I think, we're 9 years old now. Next year, January, it's going to be 10 years. And I hope that it takes 10 years to build an overnight success. More new technology, new partnerships, new leadership. I'm trying to play certain roles now. Scaling into different territories through other types of partnerships as well. Building bigger vehicles. There's some design work I've been doing for quite some time now. So I'm looking at building different newer products. The benefit of building stuff in South Africa is the tax incentives. Once you understand the tax system, the world is your oyster, especially here. And getting off of social media. Yeah, so look, it's going to happen, I think, because it's synonymous with Green Scooter. I don't like having this thing where Green Scooter, Fezile, Green Scooter. I want it must stand on its own without me. So, I'm also just trying to get out of this limelight.
This is a great start.
This is probably the first and last podcast I'll do this year. I'm being for real. Like, I think when you sent me a text, I was like, I don't want to talk. But I just felt like, eventually I was like, when you explained it, then I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Because, again, with communicating business stories, or even people stories, it's not always about the successes.
No.
I mean, I could walk out of this room and I get a 100 million rand deal. Or I could get out of this room and then be told, look, you have to shut down. But there's going to be a lot of shocking things that are going to happen. And I don't think people would be prepared for it, especially the scale of the things I love doing. Mitchin always says to me, he's like, Fez, you always like going after Goliath, bro. Why do you like going after Goliath? And I'm like, man, it's just how I am. So I will always want to build. I'll always want to create. But I also want to have Green Scooter to have its own identity outside of me. I want to be able to, just like scrape all my data on the internet. Just I want to be me for a bit. I think 9 years of building this thing, Jesus Christ, yo, I never thought it would ever happen. But we're here now. Just have to finish the job.
What is one thing that you know now that you wish you knew at the beginning of this journey?
One thing I knew now.
That you already know now.
That I already know now. Be still. It works. Yeah, be still. People want to help you. It's not about what they're going to get in return. They just want to know how they can help you. It's important to know where you come from. Imvelaphi. Which is what I think a lot of people who look like you and I don't know. It's nice to say, I'm from Sandton. But your identity is very important in business. Because that's how you define yourself. That's how you stand your ground. Also spirituality. Vague. I mean, at that time when I had my other business that made a lot of money, I just believed in the laws of the universe, But when you get to understand yourself better as an African, you realize that it's more than this. Like, it is more than this. The same way we can talk about the 12 disciples from a Bible, or the book of Smang from a Bible, who are also ancestors because we have to translate it into English. Nakhona amadlozi wakho as umuntu omnyama, they are all, because it's the same thing. You just need to you need to be here. Book smart, street smart. Knowing these things have actually just somewhat made me a better person. Finding the right company being a friend or a girlfriend or a wife, those things, I think they play a very important role, and things I didn't know which mattered. Because when you're 25 years old starting a company, you're like,
Yeah.
But then you realize, I mean, look cool, and you don't owe anybody like you. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
I hear you.
But loss is what redefined me. And one thing people need to know, and if you still have both your parents, trust me, that's cool. Like, treasure that. You can lose a grandparent, you can lose an aunt, you can lose an uncle. Those things don't really do much to you. But when you lose your first parent, or even both at the same time, just know that you'll never be the same person that you were before.
Mm.
You will change completely. And how you move forward it's all up to you. You know the whole saying of blood is thicker than water.
Mm.
I want to find something. Just give me a second.
I know that saying is actually
No.
incorrect, right? Like
Yeah.
the blood of the
'Cause always-
womb.
yes, it's thicker than.
Oh no, the yeah. I'm blanking now, but like I know
I
it's.
tweet it all the time.
Uh,
Let me look for it. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb.
mm.
It's very important to know that. Because even you and I, like this, not being cut from the same cloth, can make us blood
Mm.
because of how we just relate to one another. You know, how we're just happy. No, as a machita, we can go and visit each other and just sit in silence.
Mm.
You can just sit. So manje, this time is later, then just back on our phones. We're just sitting. Because that's that blood of the covenant that you can't even see or explain.
Mm.
I think there's so many things that we're yet to learn as people. Naming Yazwuti, there's still a long journey for me. But there's just things I wish I knew earlier in my life.
Yeah.
I wish I had understood the wealth of my mother's networks, for example. It could have probably helped. But then again, how would I have turned out? Goes to this Ashton Kutcher movie called The Butterfly Effect.
Mm.
If you've never watched it, I say watch it. I think it's on Amazon Prime. It's an old movie where he would always go back into time to try to change an outcome of what he's living in his current reality. And each time he would change that thing that happened to him or his mother or so and so and so and so because he didn't like how they turned out or he didn't like how he turned out. When he came back to the future, his present reality,
It was completely
it was
different.
horrible.
Mm.
So it's things like that where impilo iyahlonishwa mfethu. And I think also that movie, and somebody said I should watch it because I think we're talking about the loss of my father and whatever. Because there was a thing of like, could you have changed something? Like obviously at that time, like yeah, actually, because my dad got COVID because he was performing surgery on somebody, I wish he was not in that room.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but then again, you as a person, how would you have turned out? We don't realize how much pain actually builds us. And I think as men, we just grow up in pain. Pain is what we know. Because again, it's what helps create the structure. But some people can't take it and they sink. So that movie was actually very important for me because you always feel like, yo, to lady in fit or a time I'm fit to. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things I wish I knew earlier, but like I said, it goes back to providence.
Mm.
I wish I didn't get. I'm grateful that I never got the things I wanted when I wanted them, because now I understand life better with a different lens. Yeah.
Thank you for this conversation. Completely different to what I thought we were gonna have.
Yeah,
and I'm grateful for that. I think like yeah, it stays true to the values of why I'm trying to do this again. And
yeah, you've taken a different turn.
For sure. And I appreciate you to, being part of that as well.
You know, a podcast like this, you know what it is? Each and every single one of us have an ability to heal. Each and every single one of us have an ability to teach. So what you may think you're doing is the complete opposite. I say this where I am comparing it to a dream. Where you may dream about seeing shit. or shitting yourself.
Okay.
Right? Or, but it will mean something else in the real world, because I also feel like when we go to sleep, we go into another world.
Yeah.
You know, we interact and we engage with a world that we cannot see and touch. But this podcast, I think maybe for you, the turning point now is different angle, trying to get a different type of message out, because you don't know all your listeners or your viewers, and they may be going through and dealing with something of a particular kind, but a certain message that is said either by you or I makes them realize that this inflection point just flips. And it could be that now you just focus on healing, and you're healing yourself in the process,
Oh yeah.
because you're taking those lessons that you went through, building the first, I think when you're still at 27 boxes, right?
Yeah.
And then the migration. You've also documented your story.
Oh, for sure.
You've built your audience. It's been coming, it's coming, it's coming. You can change. Maybe next year you now have a channel there on MultiChoice, Showmax. You never know. But
That's true.
yeah, I mean, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, let's hope people who watch this, they will find some sort of comfort.
I'm sure they will.
Yeah.
Thank you.